Yes, now that's serious stuff, but right now, of course, sports stuff, much more serious, because Bafana, Kendal, seems like to be either a sinking ship or a hurricane.
You know what, there's lots that's been spoken about Bafana. We thought we'd said it all, and then of late FIFA comes back with some heavy news about how they need to replay the match they thought they'd won against Senegal. But you know, bigger than that, Elvis, there's a funeral on that's on the go. There's a ceremony that's on the go right now about a journalist who I'd really like to talk about. In fact, this man would have had a lot to say about what's been happening with Bafana of late. Former SABC Sport and Sunday Times journalist Mzimasi Mgebisa passed away last week at the Charlotte Maxeke Johannesburg Hospital following kidney failure. Now, with him being laid to rest today, I saved a conversation I had earlier this week with a close friend of his, another renowned sports journalist, Vata Ngobeni, about the man who he called a friend.
We had gone to school together. In the early 90s, we attended Queen's College Boys High School down in the Eastern Cape in Queenstown. And that's where I got to really get to know Mzi, the straight talker, as you said, the man who shoots from the hip. And he was 2 years ahead of me. And I mean, he had a fantastic love for football, even then at school. And he dared to try and introduce football in a school that is over 150 years old with all the traditions. We tried. He tried. We had a football team for a few months.
We're talking about Queen's College.
About Queen's College, the traditional rugby cricket school, steeped in the history of old colonial schools. So Mzi already from then, from a very young age, was a trailblazer, and already by then he had sort of tried to get his way into the football world in journalism. And he, obviously after school, he went to varsity, and then from there he joined Times Media, joined independent newspapers for the Star, and then ended up at SABC Sport, where he finished off as managing editor, and in his latter years was script writing and an analyst on SABC Sport.
Talking of his latter years, we know that in the public has come out that he died of kidney failure. Was he sickly?
Mzi, from time to time, we call him the big man, figuratively and literally. He was a big man in sport. So from time to time, he'd be in hospital. I think, but the last sort of 2 months have been extremely difficult for him because some of the failures of his health had been brought on, by a lot of stress, but the fact that he had been unemployed since the beginning of the year. And, so that contributed, I think, to Mzi's bad health. And ultimately succumbed, as you said, to kidney failure, which is very, very sad.
I believe that his memorial service was quite an interesting affair, with lots of well wishes, lots of people that are close to him, feeling that he had been hard done by.
Yes, it was first of all very, very emotional. His colleagues, past and present, had very good things to say about Mzi, but at the same time, in the typical Mzimasi style, people really spoke truth to power. And I think that's what Mzi ultimately, lived and died for, and was persecuted for, was speaking truth to power. Yeah. So I think it is poignant that, as journalists, we learn something from Mzimasi, and his legacy must be that journalists must be able to do the job and do without fear or favor, and knowing that there will be no retribution for putting the facts on the table and speaking truth to power, regardless of whether it's your employer or people out there.
Well put. For those that are interested, his funeral, can you give us his details? Yeah,
the funeral will be on Thursday in Irene at 3C Church, and I believe that he'll be buried in Midrand. So I think people must have a look out on social media, details of that. I think service starts at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning. So I think the sporting fraternity will be out there en masse.